friends. Welcome back. How was your week? Let us know. How was your week?
I don't want to talk about my week.
Okay, well, I
It
had
went
a
from
good week.
okay downhill. So,
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I've had a good week. I feel like, every day has its ups and its downs. Especially now, every minute has its ups and downs. Um, Walking through grief. But the sun was out, so I got to start puttering in my flower beds. We did a big Azure order of plants that got here yesterday. So
and a few other
yesterday
things.
evening and a
But
few
yeah,
other things, but yesterday evening. So last night and this morning, I got to plant some plants in my garden. Um, and yeah, the sunshine just always helps so much. I did get this week, which I brought to share because it's so cute, and it was $5, which I probably at a yard sale would have paid a lot less.
Yeah.
But I wanted something. So this, I'll show you what I keep my sewing stuff in. It's really cute, guys. It's very functional in that, like, it's got, like, it's a tackle box. So it's got sorting. But, and I'll probably still keep it for all the extra stuff. But my kids are eternally just asking my mother-in-law to fix things when it needs, like, a quick couple stitches because the amount of time it will take me to actually get out here.
Notice
get
she
my
said
tackle box.
mother-in-law, not mother.
They've learned that grandma is the person to go to
Yeah.
get things fixed.
I can, but I
don't want to.
don't want to. I don't like
That's
to.
me, and I let her do it a lot. But I thought, you know what? I want to keep something small in the house that I can just keep a few different bobbins of, like, those really common colors, a few needles, some nicer sewing scissors. And so I just got this because I thought this is so cute.
Set out on a
Just to set on a shelf, and then it's functional as well as beautiful. So I was pretty excited about that. And it's officially yard sale season. So our weekends are becoming filled with wandering yard sales.
treasure hunting.
More treasures at better prices than this. But I was excited for that. So I wanted to share with you guys. But yeah. If you don't know who we are, and you're still here
After all that.
after all of that, seeing my selling boxes, we are the Rustic Girls, a mother-daughter duo. We have been doing home decor, and really intentional living, and creative things for my schoolhouse. And there's, as much as I've labeled everything and said my kids are going to keep it clean, they still leave trash on the floor and stuff, construction paper. But anyway, since I was a little girl, my mom's been doing it her whole life, and as we grew up and we've done markets and businesses, and just really had a passion for sharing with others, just living intentionally, being, about your family, about your community, and using your time well, and pursuing creative dreams and passions, not letting fears and
in 2024, I closed the business that we had, and then it became mine, which ended all that creative stuff, all the workshops at the shop, all that fun stuff. And so she said, "Hey, why don't we pick up Coffee with the Rustic Girls again?" And so yeah, we can't, as she said, we're out treasure hunting, even though don't need a lot of stuff, but it's in our blood. It's in our
we
blood.
can't resist. So I am Katie, the daughter of the mother-daughter duo.
And I'm Patty, the mother of the mother-daughter duo.
So welcome. Say hello in the comments. Introduce yourself. Welcome back to all of our friends. We're excited to chat with you this week. And this week we kind of talked about, give you a hint, heads up. So I'm curious if any of you have thought about it this week, but returning to your creative roots. What is something that you enjoyed creating as a girl? What made you stop? And yeah, so let's dive into that. Do you have anything? Were you thinking?
Or a boy? We're not sexist here. So if you're a boy tuning in,
you're welcome to comment.
You're welcome to comment.
Yeah. Do you have anything?
Well, I gave it a lot of thought this week, and I kind of jokingly thought to myself, what I what I loved creating as a little girl was mud pies. I loved creating, like, I would set up, like, I would make a menu and I would create all these things and I'd bake them out in the sun, my sun oven, and my daddy would come home from work. And so I loved doing that. And I thought it was, because your question was,
why did you stop?
Why did I stop? And I kind of chuckled, but I realized I can go somewhere with this because I feel like it's applicable. So I started with that, playing in the dirt, playing in the mud. I loved doing that as a kid. As I got older, not so much.
What would you say were the main reasons that you stopped?
Well, the main reasons I stopped was, I outgrew it. I mean, I feel like
it's not as socially acceptable.
Not socially acceptable
as a teenager,
as a young mom to set up, unless you're playing with your kids. But my parents also gardened a lot when I was growing up. Big, huge gardens. And I didn't really, I would help plant seeds, help harvest.
You were really part of that process.
Yeah. So I didn't glean a lot of knowledge from it. Because by the time I was old enough that I might have retained some of that, my mom had went to work. And their life shifted and they weren't planting big gardens anymore, and your dad and I tried a couple times and we just weren't
not successful.
I think our season of life just was too busy to be all in on it.
Well, and I mean, I remember the hillside greenhouse.
There was that. Yes,
my dad definitely never dreamed small.
No,
and so he had this vision. We had this
go
big hill, and it was a decent steepness too. It was pretty steep. And he built this
he was going to grow these
probably a couple thousand square feet.
Yeah, it was huge.
Because, it was our house multiple times over size. Like this huge, plastic greenhouse thing.
Yeah, probably way
and
bigger
then, than that. The thing about dreamers is they don't always have the best follow through. Yeah. And so what happened is after one winter, it fell apart.
Yeah.
And just became a tarp plastic mess on the hillside. But that's what it made me think of a garden. Yeah. We didn't do a lot of gardens.
And we did try to put in a garden plot out there, but it just, like I said, we didn't have the capacity we weren't passionate enough about it for it to be
the time behind it,
for it to be at the top of our priority. But
we grew sweet peas every year, though. I remember those on the porch.
And yeah, I did a little bit of container gardening and flower beds and things like that. But as far as producing food and stuff. And so transitioning, fast forwarding to now, I am starting to play in the dirt again, although I have to have gloves now because I just don't like getting all gunky. It's a balance because I feel like certain things I have to be able to actually touch them, but I don't love all the dirt under my nails and all that.
My hands get really dry.
Yeah.
I prefer without gloves, but my hands get so dry when I do it.
But yeah, for me, it's back.
Puttering in the dirt.
I don't know if I'm passionate about it or not, but I'm excited at the prospect of growing some of our own food, having some pretty flowers and stuff. There is something magical about seeing a seed come to something you can eat or put in a vase or.
Yeah. Well, I think that's beautiful.
That's my story.
I've been thinking, yeah. So I've been thinking about it because being who we are, there's definitely seasons, right, where you're more creative and not, flipping furniture or working in the shop. I wouldn't say I ever really stopped a lot of things. A lot of things I still do it. It's just, seasonally, the weather allows it, or if I'm just really busy versus not busy. But there's nothing really that I walked away. And so even 10 minutes before this video, I was like, I don't know that I have anything to share. Not that I'm perfect, but I never really stopped being creative. But then I remembered something. Creative writing.
Ooh.
That is something I used to do a lot of. When I was young, I would write little stories. It wasn't nearly as creative as my brother, but I did write little stories. As I hit my angsty teen years, there was a season of short stories to poetry. Through my teen years, I wrote a lot of poetry. Um, and then it just kind of stopped. I'd say around the time, probably around 17 or 18. And I mean, I can't say that there was anything specific. I've always had this thing that I probably should hang out with a therapist and try to unpack, because I've always had this belief that I am the least of all people. Like in the room, I'm the worst. So I'm the least beautiful. I'm the least talented. I don't know why, because I grew up in a really stable, loving home, with a stable, loving mom and a stable, loving dad and two decent brothers. I mean, for as far as brothers go, like they're pretty great. Um, yeah. So like, I don't really know why that I always had that like inherent belief that I had less value. Um, and so I don't know if maybe that played into it, is like my poetry was like not good, and so I wasn't going to keep writing it, or I don't know. I just fizzled out. I think more than anything, I don't know if you can hear it, but there is a car thumping right outside. So distracting. Why is it so distracting? I don't know, but my brain is like caught. It's like really rhythmic. Anyway, um, yeah. So I mean, I can't think of like that there was anything. There was no like somebody told me it was bad, or
Yeah.
I got told no and I submitted it somewhere or anything like that. I think I got busy. I just kind of let it go. Um, and that is something I just like literally this week started with my kids, is in their school doing creative writing. And so I write out a little prompt and they write a little story to go with it. Um, and I was thinking this morning, that's something I used to love to do, whether, like I said, to be poetry or short stories. I enjoyed it. And yeah, I stopped, I think, mostly from busyness.
Yeah.
And I think that I want to start again.
Look forward to seeing something in the future.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
I might stay in a private journal that doesn't see the light of day.
And that's okay too.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that's the encouragement. I'm curious to hear from you guys. Is there anything you walked away from and stopped, and was there a reason? So like, because both of us, I feel like we didn't have, there is one thing I did, creative expression, that I don't do because of something somebody else did. And that is singing. I love to sing. And I used to sing in church. I did in choir, and we grew up in a church that did specials. So I don't know if you had that church experience, but a special is where you sing like a song that wouldn't normally be sung on a Sunday morning. So like I grew up in a church that was hymns, almost exclusively. There are some churches that did a little mix of the modern worship. But I would sing a different song, and I received.
Well, and you're doing it up front, and
you're doing it up in front of everybody on the stage.
It's like a solo.
It's exactly like a solo. So at a performance, like at a concert, this would be like a solo, but you do it at church, and it's about Jesus. And I'm not about to cry. I've got congestion, and I can feel it in the back of my throat, and it's driving me crazy, which is making me talk really weird. So just a heads up, I'm not like emotionally traumatized, but there was someone in our church who took over the worship ministry, and he definitely made it abundantly clear he thought I was less than. And I continued to sing a little bit, and after about a couple months, I trailed off. And I no longer attend a church that does specials, but in general, I kind of like, it just kind of beat down my belief that I could sing and make a beautiful noise. And I sing in a choir, but
which you totally can. Totally do.
La 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 la. I sang in a choir in college, and that would be the extent of it. If my voice is buried in a bunch of other voices, that's where I find joy now, is when my voice is hidden and I can just sing and not think about the fact that in my mind I sound awful. So I would say I do have experience with being negatively. And it took me a lot of years to even enjoy like just walking around the house singing. And even now it's like I'm a little more confident, a little more comfortable. I've kind of recovered and I still sing, but I think it does. It's powerful when someone tells you that you're creative, because creative expression comes from here, comes from your soul. And so when someone tells you that it's not good enough, it's such a vulnerable, traumatizing thing.
Yeah. And it's a shame, especially in a church setting
Mm-hmm.
of all places. But
For mama bears.
people are people,
But people are
and
people.
we're
Sinners
all
are
human,
sinners.
and sometimes, yeah,
We make
we don't
sad
realize
choices.
we don't realize sometimes how
Mm-hmm.
it's, you know.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think for me, when we first brought this up as, being a topic, I was like, because and we've talked about this over the years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, even though kind of our creative happy place that we kind of revolved around was
Mm-hmm.
like with paint and artistic and that, all that kind of stuff. But we always talked about how
There are other
creativity
forms.
comes in so many forms. It can be
Mm-hmm.
cooking, it can be baking, it can be gardening, it can be flower arranging, it can be, drawing, it can be hairstyling, it can be designing
Makeup.
clothes,
Graphic design.
I mean, it's just anything that you're putting your stamp on.
Mhm.
Writing a book, writing music, creating music,
Performing music.
and so I think for me, because I have kind of I don't really know why. I just haven't really found. I kind of stepped away from all that creative stuff, and I
Mhm.
walked away from like years worth of projects that I was going to get to someday, and I
Right.
just walked away from all of them. And I think, between our, life transition into retirement and travel, that affected some of it for sure. But I just don't, when I think about diving into those sorts of things, that was always kind of my jam.
I don't feel the
I'm not,
enthusiasm.
I don't feel the enthusiasm that I once did, and I'm not really sure why, so I probably need to unpack that. Um, so like I was a little uh unsure, like, because in my mind, that's where my mind goes. Even though we've talked about there's all these other areas,
Yeah,
my
it was
mind
very
goes to
traditional
this
to
is
those
how
things.
this is my creative outlet. And when I kind of, squelched that, I guess I was like, well, I don't really know what my creative outlet is now.
Mhm.
Um, and so anyway, just thinking about that. So just a reminder that
Mhm.
um, it doesn't have to be what, some would define as creative,
Or art, or
or
whatever.
art. Yeah, those types of things. It really can be just about anything that you're like, you love kind of
Part of
pouring
you. Yeah.
pouring yourself into, you gravitate. So if you feel like you're not creative,
You are, I
you
promise.
are.
Yeah. I promise. That is something we so firmly believe, is that God created in each of us. I mean, when you look at creation, look around at let's just take the birds.
Yeah.
The vast variety of birds. They're all so different, and their colors are different. Their songs are different, and like their nests are different, and
how they court, how they mate.
How they mate is different, and it's all so beautiful and different. And I think if you look around creation just over and over again, that's what we see is God's creativity. And because we're created in his image, you have to know that like you're creative, you're created creative too. So
and that adds like to the whole big picture. I mean, it would be boring if we all loved to paint, right?
Like, where would Michelangelo? He was the one who did David, right? The statue. He was like, he did those sculptures. Well, he didn't even do sculptures. I mean, because I'm clearly not that informed. He carved it out of marble.
Yes.
Well, I don't know what that's called. I think it's still technically a sculpture, but to me, like, sculpture is like you're forming it with your hands and with clay. He like actually just looked at a solid thing of marble and was like, I'm going to chisel out what's in here. Yeah, so I mean, there's countless, and I think that, if you've ever had someone tell you that what you created wasn't good enough, that's their problem, not yours. And that I say to myself, to her, to you, like all of us need to hear that. Your creative expression is who you are, and something God gave to you. And I think, if someone else wants to squash that, it's probably because they're insecure. in something. And so they want to squish down your uniqueness.
And something that I've heard, and it took me hearing it a few times before I really like got it. I just thought, oh, that's kind of clever. But it's like, what other people think about me is none of my business. None of my business.
Preach.
And it was like, you know, I live it out perfectly every day. I'm getting there.
Did I have an anxiety attack 2 nights ago because I was worried what somebody else thought about me? Maybe. But it's true. I mean, it's true. And the more we can try to just tell that. And your brain is not, I read a good book on your brain and just talking about how it works and the neural pathways. And you're not going to remember everything in your whole life. And so the things you think about more are the things that's it's going to carve. You know, think about like a trail. When a lot of people walk it, nothing's growing on that. But like if only 1 or 2 people walk on it, like it grows over and it gets covered and it disappears. And so the same goes with our neural pathways. So focusing on negative is going to imprint that in our mind, and like that's going to be a highway we walk all the time. Yeah. Versus intentionally diverting our focus. And the other thing is that our brain makes conclusions and thoughts that does not reflect truth. It is not reality. In fact, a lot of what our brain thinks is not reality. So my perception, I mean, even just earlier this week, my perception of a situation was very hurtful, and I was wound up and thinking people were like, I don't know, mad at me, whatever. And the reality of that situation was very different and had to do with technology not working. And so I could sit and tailspin on that, or I can sit and think, okay, well, what's truth? I'm going to redirect my thoughts. And so bringing that back to creativity, you know, I can think I'm not good enough. I can be like, man, that's bad. Or I can say, you know what? That was a great first attempt. I'm so excited to see what I create next. So don't listen to your brain. When your brain says it's not good enough or it's not beautiful. Yeah. It is. It is as it is. And it's also a stepping stone.
And whatever you create, it's not just as you were saying, you might just keep that in a journal for yourself, right? It's not always for the masses or anybody else. Sometimes it's just for you. And so if somebody else gets a glimpse of it and doesn't like it, it doesn't mean it's not good, because you're creating for you first. And, you know, I do think that when we have gifts, you know, to share, we should share them. Because, you know, other people can benefit and be inspired and to, you know, to be creative on their own. But,
oh, for sure. I think that,
doesn't always have to be for somebody else. If it speaks to you, it matters, even if you get negative feedback on it.
True. And I think that, you know, actually super convicting. I saw a video about a week ago of this 18 to early 20s kids. And yes, I'm officially old enough to call that age group kids. But these kids, and they were singing a worship song. It was a boy and a girl, and he was playing the guitar, so it was acoustic. And it was pitchy. It was a little rough around the edges. And the comments were just off the hook. You know, and you get those videos, and they're just super funny about being homeschooled and sound like homeschoolers, and growing up homeschooled. I identified with that. And so I thought, oh, this is such a funny video. I'm going to save it. And I go and I show it to my sister-in-law a couple nights ago. And then I go to the comments and I start reading the comments. And you're like, they're so bad. You know, like the ones like they've been doing, it's kind of become like a trendy thing to do in your comments, is like, it's a little pitchy, but other than that, I absolutely hate it. Or it's totally horrible. So like it sounds like it's like, oh, it's okay. But then you're like, nope, just kidding, it's really terrible. Just tearing them up. And then the band Rend Collective, which is one of my favorite bands of all time, pops on and said, don't listen to the haters. You should hear what they say about us. Thank you for sharing your joy and your song with us. We're so grateful for you. Don't stop singing. And then gave them tickets to any one of their concerts. And I was like, oh, that
my toes hurts.
I wasn't engaging in it, but I was watching it, and I was laughing on somebody else, and I was thinking it. And I didn't even think of it as being like, I felt like, oh, but it's just bad, and therefore it's okay to laugh at it. And so even when, like, and I highly value creative expression, I would never to someone's face tell them terrible. Like I said, I didn't comment, I didn't say anything on the video to discourage, but I thought it and I laughed. And seeing that comment, like, it broke me to my core to realize, you know what, even I am sitting here judging them, and they're just trying to praise their Jesus, to bring a little sunshine to the world. And who am I to say, like, what creative expression is good versus bad? So no one's perfect, and no one's going to do anything perfectly either.
And I think when your heart is focused on that as a listener or observer of something, you wouldn't get any benefit from it anyway. Because, you know, I've like, I am like the last person to critique, because I don't see very good.
I disagree with that.
Certain things I can do okay and feel okay about it.
It's a very specific range. That's how I feel like I am. I'm like, in this range,
I never feel like just when I think, oh yeah, anyway. Yeah. So like I wouldn't, you know, like I try to enjoy, you know, whatever's out there. But yes, there's some people that, you know, we have a grading scale in our mind of that's really good and that's not as much. But I think sometimes you miss what might be there for you. You know, I have heard people sing with, and maybe they're not the best, you know, by society standards, but the emotion that comes through their voice, that like how much they're feeling the words they're singing, the impact, especially when you're singing about Jesus. It's like, it's gotten my attention and made me go, you know what, I should listen closer to this than
there's something.
So I guess that's what I was trying to say. It's just that sometimes you miss what you might be going to get out of it that's more important than the most pleasing sound.
The perfect expression, you know, the most beautiful poem or painting. And I think at the end of the day, you know, coming back to kind of like, that was like a little tangent, but like coming back to you pursuing your creative expression again is, some of it's just about expressing yourself. Even if, I mean, we've done classes where we've done, like, I've really wanted to learn how to watercolor and paint new techniques. I won't even say better, I'll just say new techniques. And we did them and I liked them, and now I'm like, I don't want to keep this painting, it's just hanging around. And so I let the kids just paint over it and use it for something else. So it's not that you need to keep it, or if you don't keep it, it somehow means that you didn't think it was good enough. It's just about doing it. It's just about letting that expression out.
Sometimes just getting out there and drawing on the sidewalk.
Oh yeah, we used to do sidewalk chalk all the time in front of the shop. I'm always curious what people love, but no one ever said anything. So, you know, you'd write little messages or flowers.
Sometimes people would join in though.
And sometimes people join in, add their own. So yeah, I think really think about maybe what's something you stop pursuing, and maybe think about why, and if it was valid. You know, if it was somebody else saying you're not good enough, well, that's not a reason to quit. If it's about getting busy, well, that happens, but that's not a reason to never do it again. So yeah, I'd love to hear what you guys have taken up.
Become your life's work, right?
I'm not becoming an author, but I'm going to start writing.
Exactly.
You're not going to become a master gardener like,
no.
What's his face? He used to be on TV.
Ed Hume?
No.
Huter.
Cisco. Garden with Cisco.
I think they're both like Pacific Northwest guys.
Yeah, it's very star.
Yeah.
Anyway, you're not going to be one of them experts, but, you know, enjoy expression in different ways. Good for you. So yeah, thanks for hanging out with us. Hopefully you enjoyed our tangenty talks. If you do, being weird again, like, subscribe, and share. And once again, we say it every time, but once we get to 50, we're going to do these videos live, and it's way more fun to just hang out with you guys and chat. So next week, we're going to chat about heirlooms and holding on. And so, like, think about something that maybe you've held on to through the years.
We're
and
not
it's
doing
important
what you
to
said we were doing.
We're also, well, it's not going to be the whole thing.
Okay.
That'll be quick.
All right.
Sorry.
I didn't get the full memo.
It's okay. This life. So yeah, so think about something maybe you've kept through the years, why it's important, why you held on to it. We'd love to hear next week and share it. And then we'll share something. And then also we're going to do earlier this year, if you guys don't remember, if you haven't seen, we did a video with a calendar. Mm-hmm. And so talking about using our planners to organize our life and just be intentional about how we're spending our time. I'm keeping ourselves on track and on focus. So we're going to do a planner check-in. We'd love to hang out and share with you what's worked, what hasn't, and what we're doing. So, yeah, we'll see you next Saturday at 9 if we can
get
it together. If not, Sunday at 9.
See, it'll be so much easier when we go live on Saturday morning at 9. Now it's like all these logistics behind the scenes to get it actually
posted on time, is
done and uploaded.
It's rough. So Saturday at 9 or Sunday at 9. Either way, we'll see you.
We'll see you next week.
Yeah. Have a good week, friends.
Bye, friends.